Hey everyone, welcome to Jeff and Paper Gary. It is a great day here in the garage. It's January 16th, about 1 o'clock. Why is it a great day? Not only am I in the garage getting to work on my airplane, but we are celebrating today 52 followers. So that's a mark I never thought I would hit, honestly. But thank you all for my devout followers and subscribers. I really appreciate it. So glad that you're following along. Hope you're enjoying the videos. If you're not, I'd love to hear about it. If you are, I'd love to hear about it as well. So happy to receive any and all comments that you guys have. As we've discussed before, I'm Jeff, that's Paper Gary, and we are here building a Vans RV-8 aircraft in my garage. Today is going to be continued work on the horizontal stabilizer, and I feel like I have said that 100 times. It's a little bit daunting, to be honest with you, which is kind of funny because this is the small, easy, quick part of this this aircraft build, but it's slow moving in the beginning, I think. So here we are, again, back at it today, going to work, I think, on riveting together the skeleton and then progressing towards the skins and then on to flight control surfaces. So glad you're here with me today. Hang out, let's see what we learn. So I've got a parts tag here on the horizontal stab, and that is to remind me to go torque these bolts. And we saw in previous videos that I finally acquired the torque wrench necessary to do that. So I'm working on that now. As I was flipping through the pages, it reminded me that electrical is going to become something I need to start thinking about. So there's all kinds of opinions out there as to which way to go for connectors. Do you do Molex connectors? Do you do D sub 9s? Do you do the Deutsch connectors? I'm really undecided on that. What I'd like to hear from builders, if you guys are out there watching, how many electrical connections are there outside of the main avionics panel that are not like ground wires, not coax, but connections? So like each wing is gonna have a plug or two, right, for the strobes and the lights and the pitot heat and those things. I imagine the tail is going to have some back there. I'm trying to figure out the total number of connectors outside of the main avionics package that just handle electrical signals, right? Because I'm really not sure which way I want to go. Do I want to go with legit 38999 connectors? I like those. They're a little expensive, but if there's not a lot of them, then maybe that might be the route. If not, do I go with a Deutsch or the Molex? So I'd love to hear opinions or a count on that. If somebody has a rough number, you know, are we talking 5? Are we talking 20? I'm not sure. So let me know in the comments.
Okay, so this portion of figuring out how to use a digital torque wrench took way too long. And quite frankly, I'm not sure how much I love it just yet. I really prefer a click type torque wrench, but I will say that when you are trying to get the drag torque of a nylock nut, this is kind of one of the ways to go. A lot of people use the beam type torque wrenches. Those are my most hated type. I think they're horribly inaccurate. Don't really trust them a whole lot. So this one worked out well, and I can't really say, don't really recall what brand it was. I'm sure it was an Amazon find that got high reviews that was within the range that I needed, and it did the job. So nothing special about there, nothing really to write home about. So this video really is continuing on with the skeleton of the horizontal stabilizer, and it's kind of an interesting task in that, you know, you take 2 or 3 steps forward and then 1 step back, and that's even if you don't mess anything up. You know, the process of building this is put 2 pieces together and match drill, and then take them apart and deburr holes and dimple and prime, and then put them all together with an additional part, and then repeat the process. And so you keep doing that with 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, 4 until you get all of these parts together and you're ready to go put the skin on. So at the time of this video, we're not too far away from that. I will say what presented a couple challenges is what you might be seeing here is using the squeezer to get to some of the rivets on the angle parts, the 814 and the 810. The 810 was not bad because it has a shorter flange, but the 814 has a much larger flange, and you can't get in there with the squeezer. So some of the issues that we'll see, and I'll talk about here in a little bit, is how do I get past that? You know, I have to get out the rivet gun and do things the hard way, and some lessons learned. So Real-time Jeff will pop back up here in just a minute to give you the rundown of where we're at, and then we'll press on with the video. Stay tuned.
Okay, what I'm doing here is cutting down some rivets. The area at the top of the spar, the top and bottom of the spar, where you have to go through the reinforcement angle, the spar itself, and the two ribs. Actually, one of the two ribs, not both of them. It doesn't have a call out for the rivet length on the drawing. And a -7 is just a little too short. So when we're putting a rivet through a hole, we want to see 1.5 times the diameter protruding past that hole before we set that rivet. And the -7 was just a little too short. The -8s were just a little too long. That's why they make rivet cutters. So not sure if you've seen one of these things before, but they have some of these pretty crude depth gauges, but they work all right. And you set a rivet in the right diameter hole and give it a little cut. And that one needs an adjustment. Okay, so it cuts off just a little bit of that rivet, makes a nice square clean cut, and then you can get on with life.
Okay, so I teed you up for a little something that didn't come to fruition in Real-Time Jeff. I thought that was the portion where I talked about strategies to get to these rivets, but it was not. So this is where I think this section where I discovered that. So previously, the rivet cutter, right? So this is a tool that some builders tend to skip and decide to use a grinder and some pliers to take care of that situation when and if it arises. Might not be the best of approach in my opinion. The rivet cutter is not a very expensive tool for all the money that we're going to spend on tooling and such things. Really worth the money to be able to cut down those rivets. Nice, quick, easy, and square. So worth the money. Go get yourself one. It also is great if you run out of a particular type of rivet and you need a shorter one, and you're going to do a lot of those things. It's never fun to have to go sit at the grinder with pliers and file down a rivet. That's a onesie twosie kind of job. So continuing on with the buildup of this area, and you see I fast forwarded through some speaking points there, and this is where I get into the trouble with these rivets. I screwed up some rivets, had to drill them out. Really hard to drill these things out, and struggled because they're up in that rib area. And when you're using a standard length drill bit, it's really difficult to get straight on to the rivet head and drill it out properly. And so you end up getting off center, and then things go sideways from there. And I had to get pretty creative with some means, and you'll see me in here now with the Dremel tool. And this is not a tool that you really want to break out towards your aircraft parts if you can avoid it. If you don't have a lot of practice with a Dremel tool, or if you do have a lot, you'll know that it doesn't take much for that thing to slip or bite and take off and really do some damage to the surrounding work area. So I had to do this though because the head of that rivet was so screwed up that I didn't have a flat surface that I could drill into. So I was very, very careful removing small amounts of metal at very slow speeds just to get a flat surface to where I could then drill and then remove. One of the other unorthodox tools you're going to see me use there is the wood chisel. It's a very narrow wood chisel. Sometimes when you're drilling out those rivet heads and you're not perfectly centered and the rivet head doesn't snap off clean and it leaves a little bit of an edge, I'll use that to just grab that edge and use just a little bit of force. In fact, if I have to use more than just a little bit of force, I'll put it back down and I'll go back to a different means. But just a little bit to bend that last remaining part over or out of the way so that I can drive the rivet through there. So, a lot of this airplane build, you're going to make some mistakes and have to get up with some creative solutions in order to press forward. And so that's part of this process, part of this of learning. So, we make mistakes and we have to figure out a way around them because that's the only way forward is through the issue. So back to Real-Time Jeff for some further explanation.
So guys, that rivet removal went about as sideways as a rivet removal can get. Thankfully, and by some miracle, I didn't damage the hole. So everything is great there. I can put a rivet back in there. Don't need to do an oops rivet or drill anything out. In fact, when I got one of the rivets out, I could barely even, I couldn't even get the reamer through by hand. It was still pretty good. So really happy about that. But man, a lot of work to get those two rivets out. And what I realized is those two rivets, the bottom side of the spar where it goes against the 814, those holes go through the 814, the spar here, the HS0003, I think it is, and then the HS0005, and there's a little doubler plate on the other side of that. You don't have to have this forward HS0006 in place in order to install that rivet. So you might want to think about doing that rivet first before clecoing and riveting this place. I riveted that one in place. I riveted at the top from the 810 side, started down. These things really get in the way when it comes to the rivet removal and even the rivet installation. So if you could do that without these in place, do those rivets first on the 814 side where you've got this long edge that you can't get your squeezer in, and then put the rest of them in, and hopefully life will be a little bit better for you guys than it was for me. Now I still need to get those rivets in there, and I've never used offset, or what I guess they call this the double offset, which seems funny to me because I don't know how you'd have just one offset. But anyway, I've never used this before, and from the machine side, the machine head, right, the head of the rivet side, that was fine. No smiley faces, no anything there. It's just the tail of that rivet fell over. Now, I talked about those rivets being a little bit too long, and I cut them down. In the Van's book, in the manual, as you read through those things, it'll tell you, and it highlights in there, it says, like, we don't do half sizes of rivets. We do -4s, -5, and when it comes to length, -4, 5, 6, 7s. And it's okay to be on the short side versus the long side, right? So if it smashes, or if you form that rivet and it's a little flat, that's okay. So I think I'm going to drop down to the 4-7. So what is it? The AN426? Sorry, AN470 4-7 length rivet, which is a little bit shorter, and hopefully that'll go in there and I won't have to relive this misery again.
So unfortunately, I did relive the misery again. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I made kind of the same mistake again and was really frustrated and going to have to call in some help.
All right, everyone, taking a little break from the riveting, I put another set of rivets in there and the same thing happened again. So I put the first set of rivets in, they were a little long, right? So the instructions tell you when riveting together the angle, the 814 to the spar, that should be a -7 rivet. They don't explicitly call out a rivet for the area that goes through two ribs and the angle bracket and the spar. And so when I put a -7 rivet in there, it wasn't quite 1.5 D, right? It was like maybe 1.25 D. So that is 1.25 times the diameter of the rivet protruding past the end of the part before you buck the rivet. So I thought, well, that's a little short, but a -8 rivet was too long. And so I took the rivet cutter out, you guys saw, I cut the rivet down to a 7.5, put it in there, and the tail just folded over on there. And so I drilled them out. We saw that. The second attempt, I've just put a -7 rivet in there. I thought, as per the instructions, right, it's okay to have one a little shorter. I put the -7 in there and the tail folded over again. And it's nobody's mistake but my own, right? It's difficult to get in there and hold the bucking bar and the rivet gun with a double offset. And I just screwed up the rivets. So I drilled them out again. And again, luckily did not screw up the hole. Took a much different approach this time that worked much better. I used the jobber bit to get some length in there, and I could flex that over to make sure I was centered on the hole, was able to drill it out just as easy as can be. So my technical advisor is going to swing by here. He's having dinner in town tonight, so he's going to swing by around 5:30, and we're going to set those two rivets and move on.
Okay, so as I'm waiting for my technical advisor to swing by and give me a lesson in riveting, I moved on to something because I just didn't want to sit without making progress, and we're back to the rudder, which seems to be my go-to spot when I'm out of things to do or when I hit a work stop on the horizontal stab. So previous videos We made for the second time the stiffeners that go along inside there, inside the rudder, and those all went really well. Shaped them in the right way and direction this time, and did not violate my edge distance on some of those holes. So everything's good there. This process now is match drilling the skin to the stiffeners. So it's just a long and daunting process of move cleco drill hole, move cleco drill hole, and so you'll see this over and over and over again. Can't say that there was a whole lot of lesson learned here, other than it's just one of those mundane tasks that we'll have to go through. Now, this process is going to continue much like any of those other processes do, where we'll pull all these things out and we'll deburr and we'll dimple, and we'll just keep pressing on with those things. And these, I'm kind of looking forward to these, although there are some challenges in the back riveting, but do look forward to that process. So if you haven't seen this before, there is a plate of steel that will come out, go on the table there, and then I will install all the rivets, tape them in place, turn the skin over so that the head of the rivet is facing down on that steel plate, and with a special tool or a special bit, I guess you'd call it, on the rivet gun, we'll go ahead and drive those rivets from the back side, hence the name back riveting. So I've done it before in some of the practice kits that I bought, and we have that practice winglet kit, and it's a pretty easy process, works really well, moves pretty quickly. Does get a little difficult, I think, when you get towards those trailing edge rivets, because you really have to kind of pry the skin open in order to get the rivet gun in there with the attachment to drive those last ones. So we'll see how it goes. Looking forward to that. Once we get the horizontal stab out of the way and buttoned up, then it'll be time to move on to the rudder, and then of course our elevators. So continuing to make progress. Really enjoying this so far. So with that, everybody, really appreciate you tuning in as always. So please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Jeff and Paper Gary out.